Fine.
Okay, so it's August 12th, LMT Airport Review Panel meeting. And Judy, please take the floor.
Okay. Don, I didn't get a chance to finish reading emails. I guess, Bram, I got the email to you too late to be able to make a comment at Mercer County Commissioners meeting tonight. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we weren't able to send it out to the membership. Unfortunately, I was out of pocket all day today. And I didn't hear about it till last night late because I didn't see my texts and emails. So that was my fault.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's what's the problem when you don't hear of it until after their meeting and they don't post it. There were several comments. People did. TTS sent in 2, and several other people sent stuff in too, mostly from New Jersey, which is always good.
Yeah, Holly sent in something for Bram.
Oh, good. Okay, that's great. So this, Rich and John, they have in August, they meet once in Mercer County, and they have their agenda meeting on Tuesday and their formal meeting on Thursday. And so they're going ahead and approving another, one of 5 projects to make one parallel taxiway. It's a connector called D2. And then, so they're just increasing, they have a bid that was 26% over another bid that they're approving. And they're also hiring a consultant to help design the new ARFF, was that Air Rescue and Firefighting building that they're going to move, because when they enlarge the terminal 5 times, they're going to take over the space of the existing one, and they'll move it across the airport. And that's one of the reasons why they found so much PFAS when they went to look at the new terminal site, because they're going to be on the site of the ARFF, the current ARFF. So, obviously they're the same problems, that they're moving ahead with these projects in segmented form, not looking at their overall impact on air, water, and not doing an environmental impact statement. So that's what the request would be. And plus the ARFF, there's all sorts of issues with that. They're moving it to a site that could very well have PFAS over near where PFAS might have been sprayed on weeds, and they didn't even look for it in the EA. And that, of course, was put into the public comments. Whether the FAA pays attention to it, we'll have to wait and see.
Just to mention an odd thing that I got in the mail at work, which is in Pennington. It was just a general letter to occupant that they have found PFAS in wells all around the area. And we may want to be aware of this if we are using well water. It was to my business. And it's north of Pennington. Get out. No, I'm serious. And I was just shocked. It was like, well, that's kind of ironic, because how did PFAS get this far up? That they're telling people, I'm up by, if you know Pennington at all, I'm up by Rosedale Mills. So it's a couple miles north of Pennington itself. But this went out to all occupants saying, in your neighborhood, we are finding PFAS in wells.
That's shocking. I mean, what are they going to do about it? Just tell them, don't use your wells? I mean, because it's not just in wells, it's in the wildlife, and it's in the fish, and, who drinks the, somebody was telling me this kind of stuff is showing up in venison if you're eating the deer.
Huh. Wow. Okay.
That are drinking the water, and it's certainly in the fish.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just passed that on because I got that this week, and it was just kind of a surprise. So
interesting.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah,
that's fine. But I mean, we're trying to figure out. That's real interesting. How to raise this alarm. How to get to the people who can truly say this is what they're doing is irresponsible, and they need to step back and take a good look at how contaminated they are. So if we're constantly looking, strategizing about that to try to raise the alarm on both sides of the river of what could potentially be happening to our watershed.
Rich, can you share that via email or something with me?
Of course. I can scan it and send it out. Yes.
I might put that up on Facebook.
Okay.
Kind of like a FYI for people.
Well, I should probably send it to Bonnie Watson Coleman and say, hey, this is a concern, and where's this coming from? Is this coming from the airport? Is it creeping that far north? But
wow.
I mean, at least I have a basis to complain to somebody in New Jersey, and I can complain to I'll send it to the freeholders too and say, I'm aware of the PFAS contamination around the airport. it's public knowledge, is that what is causing the contamination up here? Because we don't have any military bases up in near Rosedale Mills. So
That's
Yeah,
great,
well,
Rich.
I'm sorry. There
Go
are, there are obviously some underlying aquifers that's PFAS could easily get into. Whether, where they travel, it's kind of hard to tell, but, they certainly underground go over towards the river. I was looking at that when we were doing public comment. I did a big public comment article for the EA. So it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, look how widely it was spread at the naval base in over
Warminster. Yeah.
Warminster, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right, Judy.
One question for you before we go past the ARFF thing. Did anybody ask them, or did they respond at all to why they're moving forward before the EA is complete and approved?
Usually, I'm not even sure what the forum is to get any kind of response from them ever, unless somebody, maybe the Air Force maybe the task force can send a letter to Brian Hughes or the commissioners and ask that question. Nobody that I know of is at the meeting tonight where that could have potentially been asked. But the answer, they don't have to respond to public comment. They don't have to. You can make your comments and they don't have to respond, and they usually don't. So I don't know how you go ahead and get. Obviously, the answer is they believe they're going to get a FONSI. They
Right.
believe that's the indication that they've gotten from the FAA. Obviously, and I don't know if it's private conversations or public conversations. I mean, sometimes you can FOIA any written conversations between the FAA and Mercer County to see if the FAA has indicated in some way in writing whether they think it's going to go. But clearly, they're going ahead as if they're definitely going ahead, because we'd heard that they asked for a bid for 125,000 square foot terminal.
Wow.
As long as they don't start work, right, there's nothing you can do injunctively, right? Because they haven't gotten the approval technically, but they can do all the engineering and planning in anticipation of the approval, right?
Well, I guess. I mean, I suppose the Mercer County taxpayers, since it's coming out of the coffers over there, it's not paid for by the FAA. It's not grants. It's the contract, I think, is $364,000 for the contract to help design that. But you're John. As far, I mean, in terms of injunctions, I don't know. I don't know enough about the legal injunctions, but I know you have to have cause. Is what I've heard.
Yeah. We could say we have standing, right, because we're an affected party. But, and I'm, again, for the record, I'm not a lawyer, although I had a really good LSAT score and took one law school course in Columbia, for the record. But yeah, I don't. That's a question. I don't think there's nothing we could do to stop that. Well, it's their money. It's Mercer County taxpayers' money, anyway. Right.
I mean, the Mercer County people, as they try to, it's a steamroll. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see whether or not. Yeah. So I'll go on to what my next comment is. The TTS put in public comment in June 15th. It's very well written.
Yep.
The original one that was put in was about 73 pages. A lot of it's exhibits, but it's a very good argument, wrapping up the concerns of both Mercer and Bucks County residents. And it's been supplemented with a couple more exhibits. There's about 80 pages now. So I think now the question will be how and to whom should that be distributed? Because people have to get into the first 10, 15 pages to get drawn in. I think the 80 pages can scare people off if you send it. But the intention is to send it to anyone who would be in a position to influence this and be concerned about what's happening. One place it will be inputted, which Sue Herman gave me a good idea, is that the DVRPC has public comment on the New Jersey TIP. I think it's their transportation infrastructure plan until August 23rd. Did I say that? And in this draft is projects related to the Trenton Airport. So that is an opening to be able to make public comment. And the thinking is to submit public comment, done by TTS, in addition to any supporting letters from the politicians, such as Fitzpatrick, and the public comments that were made by the Pennsylvania politicians at the public hearing. So Sue believes that can get a pretty wide audience, including the Secretary of Transportation of Pennsylvania, who has to see this. And it's an official record then, as opposed to just sending it to people and say, here, read this, we think it's good. This is something that will be recorded and will, I guess, have to be read by the Secretary of Transportation. So, any thoughts about the distribution of the TTS public comments?
I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't send them to our political contacts on this side, but we've gotten such limited lukewarm response. Obviously, Fitzpatrick has sent some letters. I was thinking of sending something condensed saying these projects are moving forward. They're bragging about their growth rates, which contradict what they're saying to get these approvals, to get the FONSI.
Right.
And we need your help to directly lobby the FAA to follow the rule of law and not use this false narrative to pass these projects with a FONSI.
I think that's excellent, and in that wording.
Okay, so I mean,
and go ahead and include the public comment if you want.
Okay.
The TTS public comment. I think you should have received a copy of it maybe yesterday.
I've got it. Yeah.
Okay.
It was excellent, and I will say I did not read the whole thing.
Well, I mean, towards the end, you get a little bit of the specifics about the concerns about the air emissions, some of the science behind the risks of air emissions. So I do think you don't have to get into the details of that, but I think the beginning lays out the overall arguments.
Well, I think
pretty well.
We have people who. I mean, I'm sure this is not news, but you guys have been dealing with the New Jersey DEP. So I'm sure the arguments would be relevant for them to see those details and, to work it to them through whatever path we can. I mean, if we could get it to them through Menendez's office, as well as through, I forget her name, the woman who was being the liaison. I would just
Megan?
push it. Yeah, Megan, thank you. But I would try it through multiple paths to the New Jersey DEP.
Yeah, I don't see any point in holding it back at all.
Right.
So if there's anybody in particular, especially if you've looked it over, I think I might actually index it in the front. We needed to add that. It's just, I tell you, it's like doing a PhD dissertation in 30 days, right? Which is what they gave us to put together.
Yeah, no, it was superb,
Yeah.
and it was well written, and it was very thorough. So we gotta applaud the effort that TTS has put into this. So, but yeah, I mean, I just figured it's time to just, and I thought I'd probably be pretty frank with the Casey office saying, you have done nothing on this to help us. And yet, your whole party's position is anti-pollution and anti-this and anti, carbon and all this stuff. And it's like, you're doing nothing for us. And, you're our elected representative. And what's the point?
Well, if you're inclined to write that, if you have the time and, it sounds like you got the passion right now, I think, to be that straightforward. I think they need to hear it from us directly, and maybe we can get to them from different angles also. If they hear it, from the grassroots, and then we attempt to get into them through other avenues, it's good that they have that record.
Yeah. So, John, I would be doing that just as a citizen, not as airport review panel, but maybe I CC you on it.
You're welcome to do that. You remain you retain all of your rights as a citizen in commenting to your elected officials. And that includes the ability to bust my chops at any time as well.
Well, but I mean, I would be busting Casey's chops, but CCing you on it.
Yes, I know.
And so,
but
because you've tried to get them, and
I will say, if once we get the draft or the comments you got, I talked to Kyle Melander over the weekend. There was we have another Eagle Scout, and it's our second female Eagle Scout. So I had a chance to talk to Kyle for a second, and he had mentioned there is some interest in following up once the process gets kicked off or formally, so after the public comment period ends, to then come back in. So I think it's worth setting up a time to talk to him. He's been very helpful. I jokingly said to him that I had told the congressman he's been doing great work and that I hoped it wouldn't hurt him by my endorsement. And I think he got a kick out of that. But I think Kyle's been very flexible on that, and I think has some ideas and strategies that, we can certainly sit down and perhaps email or talk to him about, or set up a call with a group. It didn't have to be all of us I don't know if because there's no public decisions being made, but if a couple of us, much like we did when we tried to reach out to Senator Casey's staff, but if we could have a call with him, working session to see what his thoughts are on that, because he has been, on that issue from a constituent services perspective in a good way.
So, John, I had a question. What, when you said wait to the end of the public comment period, do you mean wait to see if the FAA issues a FONSI?
I forget so what's the next? So we finished the public comment period, and they have to go through all the public comments, right? And write a response. Huh?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. And I think he was talking about once that response comes out to then come back at them. But I'd have to check with what he was thinking, but.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I have to resolve this. And I've said this before, but I can't find it. I swear it said that after the public comments have been reviewed, that then there's another ability for the public to see it before it goes to the FAA. But
right.
Nobody else agrees with that. But I guess my question was, it'd be good if Kyle could give us a sense of the timeline for this FONSI. So that, because I think in the public meeting, they said something like, expecting this all to be done by September, and then the FONSI would expect to come out in early October. So if that's the case, that's pretty fast.
That'd be extraordinarily fast.
You think so? I don't know. I think that's what I wasn't listening at that point, but somebody said that's what they said early on in the public.
Well, that's
hearing.
why I think we need to, get the pressure on the FAA to say, this is just totally bogus. And for you to issue a FONSI on this, I think it'll be over before we've even scheduled a meeting. If we wait till this document comes out and then they say, oh, the schedule's busy for the next 3 weeks, we'll meet you after that. And then it's like, okay, that gets delayed. And all of a sudden the FONSI's out. And I think we've got to put I know Kyle wants to wait until I think his feeling was to go in now, they're going to say, well, we haven't even seen the analysis yet. Why are you pressuring us? And I think we have to say, we're pressuring you because we know what the arguments are. We know they're going to discount our points, and we don't want this FONSI issued cavalierly because of what these engineers say. You need to hear our points. And I think they need to be forewarned, because it can take forever to get a meeting, and it's probably not going to be any better in December. So, in September, it may be worse, right? And so, that's just kind of the counterpoint. The first time Kyle said that to me was, well, we're going to wait till this thing's out. I was like, oh, that probably makes sense. But on the other hand, I look at it and go, maybe it's shooting ourselves in the foot, because they're going to approve it so fast, we'll never have a chance to get their attention.
Hey, Judy, last time that an EA was done, and public comments were made, I never saw them. I never saw them. And I don't know that they ever, published them or notified anybody that they were out there. They just have to make their comments about the public comment, answer the questions to the FAA, is my understanding. So once they do that, they just send it to the FAA, and the FAA does their thing, most likely Fonzie. We're not going to know until it's a done deal. I mean, that's how they stack this, right?
So I wonder if Kyle can kind of get some get some vision on that, because Don, that's what I would expect to be what would happen. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, next thing we're going to hear is Fonzie approved.
Right. No, that's what I'm afraid of. And it's so easy to postpone meetings, and they schedule a meeting, and then the day before they go, oh, well, he's just been called out. He's got to go do something. And it's like, oh, when's the meeting? Well, it's 2 weeks from today. And it's like, okay, but the Fonzie's going to be out. So I think they could stall and, just make that overcome by events. So I think it's better to get in and use the pointy stick right away.
Hey, hi guys. I don't know if you can hear me. This is Brendan. Sorry I was a little delayed tonight. I had some difficulty getting on. But my level of disappointment is absolutely huge with Josh Shapiro. The disappointment of not receiving a response from his office after repeatedly sending notes to his office on his website is appalling. I mean, he talks a really mean game about protecting citizens in Pennsylvania. He's done squat. He hasn't even returned a freaking message. So I'm very, very disappointed in, I've attempted repeatedly to get hold of his office, never have received a response. And that's not what he's saying he's doing when he's running for governor. So very disappointed. So
this is Josh Shapiro.
Yeah.
Well, can we get Steve or Perry to do an outreach on this? What do you think, John?
Well,
I can ask them.
potentially yes. On that issue, that there's, I know Senator Sanacero is very committed on this, and Perry is as well, or say Representative Warren is as well. Possibly. I have another route, but I can't say because I don't want to reveal who knows the person there, or an LNP resident, and may have actually a way in as well. But that's certainly an option.
We need the help, and that would be great. So,
we're going to be getting requests to support his campaign. And he's not even returning our phone calls, and we like him, or emails. That's so disappointing. And I think, John, there's a certain local personality, former political personality, who I've talked to about the relationship with Josh Shapiro, who was overwhelmingly positive. And I'm just a bipartisan friend. So I was very, very, very disappointed. I didn't get a response from his staff.
Yeah, and it's sometimes frustrating to me as well, because I think about this as, if you email or call me, I have to process that regardless of who you are or what your question is, right? Because that's, and all the stuff I do is right to know requestable. So if you'd like all my emails for the last 6 years, don't hesitate to ask. You can have them. So that to me is it's a process thing and a breakdown. And it does bother me, obviously, if they are members of my own party. But that's frustrating. And I think
is there a staffer I could reach out to
for Josh Shapiro? I don't have somebody on that. Again, I have another person who may be close to him, and he will probably be in Lower Makefield for the 20th anniversary in the 9/11
Okay.
attacks. So that's certainly something we can try and follow up with. Again, the other question is, can he do anything, right? Potentially he is the chief, law enforcement person for the state. Could he enter into something possibly? I don't know.
Could he protect the citizens of Pennsylvania? And what reminded me, really, really got me going today, I was driving, coming back to the beach tonight, and driving on, 295, I guess it is now, before the bridge. And I see a sign, Mercer Trenton Airport, 2 miles away. I mean, we're right in the lap of this place, and then we just get dumped on. Mm-hmm. And our local politicians, our state politicians, not saying local, because you have been fabulous to work with, John. They just dump on us and don't care. And I don't know what's going on, but answer darn requests for information and help. Just say, look, we can't do anything. I'd be happy with that. But
Do you have an email that you sent him?
Well, I copy when you put on their website the
your email address, right? So you get the response.
You fill out their form.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You have to copy what you put into the box and save it. And I have done that, and I have not done that, which is to my fault. But the one I sent, Rich, I believe I sent it to you a couple weeks ago, was pretty forceful, I thought, for me. I'll send it to you, John.
Yeah.
It's a threat to the health and community 2 miles away across the bridge.
Right.
And our attorney general doesn't give a crap about that, or a staffer doesn't think it's important to hand it to him. I got a problem with that.
Well, I mean, he may not have legal standing to go do something, but he can
tell me that.
But he can call in New Jersey and say, "Hey guys, we've got an issue here."
Yep.
And why? That's what part of what we've been looking for is for the Pennsylvania DEP and the Pennsylvania Attorney General to call their counterparts in New Jersey and say, "Can we talk? Because this is really affecting our community as well as yours." And it's a legitimate concern. So I think there's support they could provide. Obviously they can't go and vote against these projects that are being approved tonight, but they could raise the issue with their counterparts on that side of the river.
No doubt. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they have to just point out the obvious inconsistency that they are working on these expansions and saying they're not going to have any increase in air flight so that they don't have to look at the environmental impact, but yet it's going to be an economic engine for them. I mean, it's just, it's obviously a complete contradiction in the same sentence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it does. You don't have to go into much to point out the obvious problems here. So John, John, this is Judy again. I think we need to continue to have, if possible, the discussion with the Lower Makefield supervisors about being potential for a lawsuit when this FONSI comes out. I can send the public comments. In fact, I think I will send it to each of the supervisors so that they'll see some of the arguments, legal arguments, we believe, against doing what they're doing. But I think that it just, that's going to be Pennsylvania supervisors protecting Pennsylvania citizens is going to be one of the avenues which would be a reasonable one to follow.
Yeah, and I have to be upfront because the board has invested money in the past, and the outcome hasn't been as good as we'd like. I don't know, and I can certainly plead the best case possible to board members, but I'm not altogether certain that they would be persuadable. And I just want to give you that heads up, much in the same way that these are always fun calls. You get to pick all my favorite Democratic politicians and tell me they're not doing their job. And I have to apologize for them, even though I don't really hang with them on a regular basis. But so yes, I can't, I'm certainly willing to to make the case. And I think, the arguments you could make for this are what's the property value at risk, or what's the life, the health, safety, and welfare. Those are all very valid arguments.
Yeah, the schools and the health. I mean, and the past is the past. This is a new, this is a new EA. This is this is the big one, right? That had been originally fought successfully back in 2005. This is one not based on safety. That was part of the problem with some of the past things. That if they say it on safety, that's a much harder win. But this is based on business, purely business. Convenience of their passengers is what they say. So, I mean, their business is affecting our quality of life and the business of Pennsylvania. I think if they're not aware, they should be aware that Barbara Lichtman just had a big win in California, which I'm that they need to take into account the impact of people on the ground. That's what the FAA was told. So she may be much more hardened that are encouraged that there will be Pennsylvania could have a stronger voice than perhaps we've had in the past. Because of these losses that the FAA has had. So do you know if the supervisors are aware of that recent lawsuit?
No. Which airport in California?
I think it's LAX.
Okay.
So if you don't have that, we should get that. Because I believe it has to do with next gen. But they said she was quite good, that she didn't let the FAA drag her down into the details where they try to, that's where they think they can win. She kept it at the upper level, saying, I guess basically this doesn't make sense what you're doing, and the judge agreed with it, that they are not exempt from taking into account the impact of the people on the ground, of their operational decisions.
Right. And so Judy, why don't I draft a letter to update, and I'll send it to John to share with the supervisors, that just as the panel, we're advising you of what's been going on, that the airport is approving spending on projects that have not been approved yet, the timing of this FONSI. If we learn more detail, right now it's kind of speculative, but we can say, I think it's all going to happen in the next couple of months. And if it gets a FONSI, they're going to bust ahead with this project, and the only approach would be to challenge them in court. And there's been a successful challenge to the FAA, and I can cite that case. And John, I think you get those messages from Barbara Lichtman, because you sent me one time saying, hey, were you aware of this?
Yeah.
And so, but I can cite it and just say, this is our update. The stakes are, we're right at the main part of the game here. And what it may mean, Judy, is, getting Bram to, and us to get the public out for a meeting and raise a ruckus, and just have a lot of people there to say, we're concerned. This is going on, and we need the protection. And they'll say, oh, well, there's some people who want to fly out of there. And we'll say, well, we know, and they can fly out of there, but it's the quadrupling and, the deceit of what's going on here is something that needs to be challenged. I think it's pretty obvious there'll be several members there who will vote no. And, but they were trying to kill this panel a year ago, and they asked me, well, why is everybody saying they want to, do this? I just said, well, Fred, I just went down the line and said, okay, this is the support we've had from this group, and this is why everybody's still trying to push this problem. And then they assigned John, and John's been, the hardest worker we've ever had on this. So it's been fantastic. And so they did respond to public pressure when lots of people called in and said, you've got to keep this panel going. Whether or not they would respond with a lawsuit request, don't know. But
okay. So are you saying we need the public meeting in the short term?
Well, if we're going to ask them to vote on helping pay for a lawsuit, it's going to be $100,000 or something, right? And so unless you're expecting them to pay the whole thing, which is probably then, $200,000. I don't know who else would contribute to this. But that would be a pretty expensive undertaking. And the only way they would consider it all would be if we had a lot of people saying, yes, that's a valid use of our tax money. Because they'll have other
John,
people. Yeah.
So once, I don't know how many, this wasn't that long ago. I think it was in the last 3 years. Maybe it was the RPZEA. I believe that the Lower Makefield supervisors got almost 300 letters, because I believe you or someone else said this is the most on any issue they've ever received letters. Do you recall that?
I recall
no,
that.
Could it predate me possibly?
Yeah, it might.
I don't know. I don't think so. Because I thought you were the one who said it. But
Yeah, I mean,
it's not ringing a bell?
No, no, I'd have to go back. I don't think it's the number one issue in terms of that, but
But at the time, they had said, we've never received more letters, but I'm not sure who was running the show at the time. I do remember that, Judy.
It wasn't that long ago. It could have, I do think it was the RPZEA, which is probably only 2 years ago. I'll go back. I'm sure I have some knowledge about it too. But my point is, in the not so distant past, there was plenty of written and verbal support that we can go back and at least say, at that time, and that was not even having to do with the EA. That had to do with just the expansion projects, separate from the terminal. I mean, at the airport.
Yep.
So maybe we gather that up in a package to say, this is what's been out there, and we can shake the bushes and see what's out there again. And I think they'll get the same response.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe, we'll see how far we can go with. We've had a few people who've said they would help with grassroots kind of stuff. And, I think it's time to go find them and say, all right, we need some help. And, I go out and cycling early in the morning, and I'll be riding up and just see these jets coming over at 6 a.m. And I thought, I'll be going up Creamery Road towards Dolington, and it'll be like, there are a lot of houses over here. These people must not like this, but I just can't go over and go door to door on every house. And, but yeah, I don't see why we can't find more people. But maybe, maybe outreach from Bram, and Bram saying, go talk to your neighbors. We need to fill that thing, and hopefully we actually have an in-person meeting sometime.
Well, I'm sure that we can do that, but we need something compelling to get them motivated.
Yeah.
They've heard a lot of the same stuff over and over. Why is this different? Why is it so essential right now?
Right.
We have that, then.
Yep. Okay. Judy, do you have anything else to share of what's going on with the TTS folks, or?
No, I don't think so. The only thing I'd say, you said if you wrote a letter to Fitzpatrick and Casey, it would have to come from you personally. I guess, is that because it's just takes too long to get through approval of going through the supervisors for you to be able to put out a task force letter?
Well, I guess I thought if I was going to be critical of Senator Casey's office, that they might not want to hear that.
Okay, so if you're inclined to do that, I think it's always good for them to be hearing, and it's particularly if they start hearing it from different avenues.
I mean, we can do a very polite and whatever one from the review panel probably, and we could just copy public comments from, from John and others, and just say, look, this is what's been sent, backing this up, and here's what we're asking you to do, but. I'm kind of like Brendan at the moment. It's like, how can you not respond at all?
Right? It's frustrating.
Yeah. And it's really, really too bad. So.
Hey, John, let me ask your opinion on something. Would it be beneficial to send them a registered letter rather than an email? Would they respond to it?
I don't know. I did respond to your email. I don't know if you noticed already, and I forwarded it to somebody who may be able to.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me ask a stupid question. Would somebody like Fetterman be interested in
Well,
he's running now, so he needs to make an impact.
Well, I would think any candidate for higher office that is looking to find an issue or a way in a region that they're not from would potentially consider that. Sure.
Connor Lamb,
And he's,
Val Arcus.
he still holds office, so it's not like
Yeah.
candidate
In
and
office.
holds office.
Yeah. But that's certainly something to consider.
Who's going to be running to replace Toomey? Do we
Oh,
know?
from the
I
Republican
think
side,
Fetterman
there's-
and Connor Lamb.
Mastriano.
Yeah.
I think Fetterman. I don't know if Fetterman's announced for the seat or
Yep.
not, but I'm pretty sure he's going to.
Fetterman's
going to.
definitely.
Yeah.
Fetterman's announced for Toomey's seat. Val
Has he? Okay.
Arcus and Connor Lamb recently announced his candidacy from
Okay.
Pittsburgh, which seems like three pretty strong candidates, but they might offset one another, is my
And
thought.
Malcolm Kenyatta is also in the race. And
Oh, that's right. I forgot
and
about Malcolm.
Cyrus Street.
Val
Street.
from Montgomery County, Val Arcus,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. But there'll be a number of candidates, and that's certainly something to consider.
It's a good thought.
That's right. That's when they're listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally don't have anything. You gave me some ideas here as to things to follow up on, but I don't have any more to add.
Okay. Don?
No, I have nothing else. Holly, by the way, asked me to join because she wasn't able. She's out of town today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I'll definitely be getting back to her with all these thoughts and.
Okay.
Okay, great. Good. Well, thank you very much for taking your Thursday summer evening, all of you.
Donna Rich, could you, I came on around a little after quarter of. So if there's anything I missed in the beginning, if you could let me know, I'll add those to the minutes, please.
Okay. It was mostly just discussion about the not board of supervisors, the commissioners doing their vote
Yeah.
for, to fund projects that have not been approved yet, but they're going to get the engineering going. And Don, what else? Recall anything else to bring up?
Yeah, and why they're proceeding without having the EA, obviously, was one thing. And then it was really, I think it was about that TTS has put together this very impressive and comprehensive document. And how can we get politicians on both sides of the river, I guess, to get engaged so that they can use this and we can leverage it to try to do something before the FAA comes out with a FONSI, which could happen, who knows when, soon.
Yeah.
So Judy, FYI, I sent a copy of a video from TTS, their most recent. It was one of the inclusions I had in Shapiro's note. So,
Interesting. Okay, interesting. Thank you. I'll let them know. Okay, so here they said interest. Actually, this is starting to get somewhat national interest. I mean, people up in Worcester, there are similar fights all right across the country, and they're starting to pick up and take interest in how we're trying to manage it. So, there's always the hope that as a group, as a national group, our voices will be heard.
Very well done, in my opinion. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any way to bring the Quiet Skies Caucus to carry our flag here, but maybe that's something to hit up Kyle about, is to say, look, Brian signed on to that caucus. Have them bring it, right? Why can't we get 70 Congress people to help press this case? This is what we're talking about. That's what they're talking about. So,
right. I mean, I do wonder, Fitzpatrick's on the transportation board in the House. what is really his stance and what real pressure? I mean, someone familiar with the airport and had said to me that they basically they don't see Fitzpatrick doing much of anything. He's written these letters, which we greatly appreciate, but that he really is not personally lobbying the FAA. Otherwise, the people in Mercer County, the commissioners, would see any documentation and any between Fitzpatrick and the FAA, because they hear of it if there's anything in writing. I don't know about verbal, and they've seen nothing. So,
yeah, I think we got to press the politicians that we need direct lobbying about this issue. And, whether or not it'll happen, we don't know, but we've got to ask for it and say, that's what's needed. It's not a casual comment from a staffer saying, let me look into it. We need actual help, but they may say, who cares?
Well, we'll just keep pushing until we get a different answer.
Yep. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll do my letters, and we'll keep in touch with what's going on. And I'll, if there's anything interesting that comes out on the timing with Kyle, we'll let you know.
Rich,
Great.
next meeting
Thanks.
scheduled for?
I have not scheduled it yet because they were trying to decide whether it's going to be in person or I think they said it probably could be. So I've got to get on that and pick some dates. So sorry about that.
Hey, John, what's the position of the Board of Supervisors? In person from now on? Or,
It's hybrid. Yeah, some are in person, some are not. I'm in person.
okay.
So.
Well, if
All
I
right,
could
thanks,
vote-
John. Thank you very much for attending.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. Thanks,
Yep.
everybody.
Thanks.
We do.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
All right, thanks. Okay.